But I don't think it's all gone too far because there's always a hope for reconciliation if both sides are prepared to talk. And we've seen evidence that they are talking. At any rate, a preliminary talk between the King's head of communications and the Liam Maguire and Meredith Main, who are described as the Sussex's UK PR team, which is interesting that they have such a thing. Anyway, presumably they're based over here. And so that is good. I mean, that is good. It's always good to talk. There's lots can come out of talking, and it could perhaps lead to something. We don't know what they talked about or what their plans were, but that's a good sign. That's the first part. What's rather interesting about this discussion is that it seems to have taken place on a balcony of the Royal Overseas League. I think it's, first of all, very odd to have a meeting on a balcony if it's meant to be a private meeting. And so secondly, it looks to me as though somebody leaked it. And the obvious people to do that would be the Sussex team. Having done that, of course, it's also absolutely in keeping that they would then deny having done so. I mean, that seems to me to be how these things are done. I don't think it would be Buckingham Palace. I don't see what possible gain they would have out of leaking it. I don't think that they are particularly leakers, where I'm afraid I think the Sussex team are. They always want to stay in the news because, we've talked about this before, that they are celebrities now, and they have to keep reinventing themselves and they have to come up with a good news story. And let's face it, if there's a thought of reconciliation, then this is a good story, because the relations between Prince Harry and his father and his brother particularly have been very bad, which is sad. We know that the King has stated, even Prince Harry mentions that in his memoirs, that he didn't want his last years to be made miserable with rows between his sons. And my reading of the situation is that the King has been incredibly clever. He has never responded to any of the barbs, of which there have been many coming from Montecito in his direction. He has just kept absolutely quiet and left the door open for Prince Harry to come along one day and negotiate. And that would be a good thing if he could do that. I mean, I don't see Prince Harry returning to royal duties or anything like that, because I'm afraid if I was advising the King, it would just be a distraction, because every time he went anywhere, the focus would be, is he doing a good job? Is he enjoying himself? What's going on? It would all be focused on Prince Harry, because everything always is these days, and not on the much more important work of the King. And let's face it, the King has been through all this before with Diana. I mean, his complaints in the 80s were that if he was making a serious speech, that all the press were interested in was what she was wearing, or if she crossed her knees or made some sort of gesture or sign or smiled or didn't smile or whatever. And that was very frustrating for him. So the last thing he needs, actually, is Prince Harry, let alone Meghan Markle, coming along and distracting things from the work that he's doing.
After years of betrayal, Harry suddenly wants peace. Reports claim Prince Harry is desperate for peace talks with his brother, Prince William. But royal insiders are calling it what it really is, a PR stunt. And according to commentators, William isn't buying a single word of it. Let's be real, this isn't about healing. This is about headlines. Harry's image has taken hit after hit. Netflix backlash, spare outrage, and growing public fatigue. Now, when sympathy is at an all-time low, we're supposed to believe he's ready to reconcile. Royal biographers say it's all perfectly timed. A calculated move to paint Harry as the forgiving son, while deflecting from the chaos he and Meghan caused. Insiders close to Prince William say he's not fooled. After years of attacks, leaked private conversations, and Netflix confessions, William has learned the hard way that every private talk becomes public fodder. He's done playing the role of the naive brother. This time, William's silence isn't anger, it's self-protection. One commentator even said, William will never forgive him. Not for the book, not for the betrayal, and definitely not for dragging Kate into it.
We do know that the palace said that Prince Harry could no longer be trusted because anything that was said was likely to appear in the newspapers. And once again, may I tell you that the King, as Prince Charles, went through all that when he was negotiating with Diana, because whenever they had a discussion, the details appeared in the Daily Mail the following day. I mean, I've seen a letter from Prince Philip to Diana, which actually states that as a fact. And so, yes, that is a problem. There's a problem dealing with somebody who's very much in the media and wanting to go and give his version of the story at any time. The king isn't going to say that, but Prince Harry might. So what has sparked this particular meeting? I suspect that it would have been an initiative on the Sussex side, to see whether there was any way that the matter could be resolved, a step taken forward. We know that Prince Harry is going to come over next year for the Invictus Games. Would there be any royal involvement in that? Would they come along? Would they support him? Because that's a good cause. Who knows? But that's what I suspect would happen. But I have to be honest with you. I obviously don't know. I'm only just telling you what I think and what it looks like. The first step is obviously what you might call a personal reconciliation between the king and his son. And that I would have thought would be literally in everybody's interests, because it's very sad for a father not to be on good terms with his son. And if that is not resolved during the king's lifetime, Prince Harry will carry a very, very heavy burden through life, as indeed Meghan Markle will, if she does not resolve with her own father, which is even less likely to happen, because that's a really nasty situation. And you've got, therefore, the children who are going to grow up saying, why didn't I get to know my grandfathers on either side?
Hugo Vickers and other royal experts agree. Any attempt at reconciliation now feels hollow. Harry hasn't apologized. He hasn't retracted a single accusation. Yet he expects open arms. Levin describes this as a PR game, a desperate attempt to rewrite the narrative before the couple fades completely from relevance. Because make no mistake, forgiveness without accountability isn't healing, it's manipulation. While Harry pleads for peace, William is staying silent, and it's working. His focus on duty, family, and legacy is a stark contrast to Harry's endless victim routine. Public sympathy is shifting. People are tired of Harry's tell-all tactics. Every time he speaks, William looks stronger and more royal by doing nothing at all.
I mean, that's a big problem. So as for William, it's much more difficult because the barbs sent in his direction from Prince Harry were very much directed towards Catherine, and that is very insulting. And I think William is likely to be more of an unforgiving person than his father. And I think at the moment, if I was advising Prince Harry, I would say get onto good terms with your father as soon as possible. And then that's step one. And step two, try to get on good terms with your brother. I mean, everything is possible. We've seen these things happening before. Look at the Duchess of York. I mean, she was, in terrible trouble back in 1992, with the John Bryan business and, her so-called financial advisor. And now you've got this extraordinary situation. There she is at Royal Ascot with her daughter, whereas, Prince Andrew stays at home. So she's sort of, in a way, back in the fold. People, they are forgiving, and it's very important that people should be. I welcome the preliminary discussions, and I hope perhaps that they lead somewhere. But I imagine there'll be a lot of caution on both sides, well, particularly on the side of the palace. I mean, everything in life comes down to conciliating, to meeting a point where both sides are happy to settle. And, that is what a good negotiator will bring about if they possibly can. I mean, it's what should happen between, divorcing couples. Lawyers stir things up on either side and gets more and more difficult, more and more expensive. Eventually you have to come to a point where both sides are prepared to settle. And so an apology from Prince Harry, if he's up to it, would be a very good start. I've always thought that the security issue was something rather exaggerated, and I suspect, going back to what I was saying about lawyers, he was probably advised, go for the Home Office, attack everybody, you've got a very good case, you're being badly treated. No, I don't think so, because, for example, when he was over here for the Platinum Jubilee, or when he was over here for the Queen's funeral, he would, of course, have been protected within the larger security net, which was protecting all the British royal family and the other heads of state taking part. So, that seems to me nonsensical. And I am absolutely certain that, if there was any danger for Prince Harry, that the people like MI6 are keeping an eye on things, and they would produce security. What they're just not prepared to do is to produce blanket security at the cost of the British taxpayer for somebody who contributes nothing at all at the moment to British life. He used to, but he doesn't anymore. I mean, that seems to me totally logical. So if that is an issue, it's in a way a false one, but it's one that he'll have to, come to terms with and sort of look at in a more logical and reasonable way.
Royal expert says it best. William may eventually be civil, but he'll never forget. The wounds are too deep. And the royal family's trust? Gone. This isn't a fairy tale reunion. It's a PR mirage, a photo op in waiting. Because the truth is, William doesn't want reconciliation for the cameras. He wants respect behind closed doors. And Harry's not capable of that right now. So let's call it what it is. Not peace but positioning. Harry wants to fix his reputation, not his relationships. And William? He's already moved on. Speech balloon. Do you think Harry's peace talks are genuine, or just another Sussex publicity stunt? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Bell subscribe for no-spin royal analysis, explosive commentary, and the truth behind the royal headlines.